Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project (SERAP) has urged President Bola Tinubu to emulate Governor Alex Oti of Abia State by immediately obeying the judgment ordering the federal government to recover pensions collected by former governors and to challenge the legality of state pension laws permitting those involved to collect such outrageous pensions. Oti last week signed into law the bill to repeal the Abia State Governors and Deputy Governors Pensions Law No. 4 of 2001. Following the passing by the House of Assembly, under the repealed law, former governors and their deputies in the state were paid lifetime salaries and got houses in Abia and Abuja. Dr. Sam Amadi, a RISE analyst, is here to look at this development from Abia State and if other governors will have the political will to, do the same. Doctor, you're welcome, Sam Amadi.
Thank you.
It's one issue, that has agitated the minds of a lot of Nigerians. You just serve for 8 years, some maybe 4 years, and you're given a lifetime pensions. And you find the Nigerian pensioner who gave 35 years of service to the nation, and the paltry monthly pension is not being paid. You find them, dying on queues, waiting for them to be paid their pension. Some 2, 3 years, 4 years, they've not been paid a dime. How political, sagacious is this kind of humongous payments to these ex-governors? Does the president have the will to do as Oti has done and as the court has ruled illegally?
I think first, let's not forget that the president, when he was governor, was actually where this humongous pension started, the Lagos state government. When he retired, they got that big, fat pension. And then
Jumbo pension.
Jumbo pension, then Akwa Ibom also signed on, and they spread like wildfire. So first, it's really one evidence of if you like, oligarchy, evolving oligarchy. Political office holders consider themselves as elected kingship. These guys are monarchs, and so not just that they spend so much for themselves while in power. If you look at the security votes unaccountable, in some states running to like 500 or 600 million monthly. Not only that, contracts are awarded without any, transparency. Oftentimes we focus on the federal government, but look, in comparison,
what is happening in the states? Yeah,
it's a very accountable institution compared with the states. If you look at their transparency laws, their procurement processes, A to Z, there's no rigor, no accountability. Of course, they control. We talk about National Assembly being a rubber stamp. I mean, state assemblies are beyond rubber stamp. They are at the annex of government house annex, just like, walk from the governor's house and walk into his aid. So the key question here is, and we've seen this debate about why actually do we have to pay lifelong pension? I mean, the notion of severance. In the federal government, ministers receive severance, not really significant, really, if you look at the amount. That may make sense, that, okay, after 4 years, 8 years, as the case might be, they sever you, something like a pat on the palms. Okay, well
Thank you for serving Nigeria.
Thank you for serving Nigeria. So one of payment that's reasonable. That makes some sense. Yes, severely.
They don't give you a house in Abuja and the state you come from, or cars and domestic.
In fact, the highest they can give you, maybe amortize the car you are using. Okay, if they want to be generous. Okay, they do the book value, they onboard it. And then the valuers come and value it. If it's like this Jeep, maybe 30 million, 40 million, you take it home. So those are reasonable. They address the fact that this is political office. But the notion of pension for life, for political office holders, even if they served meritoriously, even if there was no corruption, the service they rendered for 4 years or even 18 years does not justify lifelong pension. With houses, with Medicare, with overseas
domestic servants,
for life. Yeah. So I think it creates, whoever thought about it, really, thought that Nigerian...
I thought you said it started from Lagos State.
I mean, whoever conceived that, whoever, whether an aide or the governor himself, is actually from Lagos State. So the idea is, look, it's rentier economy writ large. The state belongs to us. So even if we leave power after mismanaging and stealing everything, we still want to continue to live at that level. Okay. The other issue here is, even so, the notion of pension for political office holders doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you look at the National Pension Reform Act, so all of us now do contributory pension. So for 4 years, probably, you should be contributing the same way civil servants and other are contributing. So you use your RSA. When you live on an RSA. There's been this pernicious argument that, look, if you don't do this, you create incentive for corruption. What are you talking about? So what happens to the other civil servants, the other people, even public officials who, came up, some people are two years in government, some people are just 6 months. So everybody will not be given life pension because they worked in government. So I think that is really the sense that the states became lack of accountability. And so people keep on packing. And by the way, it's not even a reasonable pension. If you say benchmark to what a director in the civil service or a permanent secretary would have, it looks reasonable. This is something outrageous. Some of them like 3 Jeep every 2 years, 2 houses, hospital treatment free for you and your wife and your family.
But the federal government is doing it too for former heads of states and presidents.
That's the point. So, and that's where they copied from. So, if people serve, and they look at this point, you see, there are honorific entitlements for former heads of states. They have their security for life. If they're generals, they still have their PAs and assistants who are military people. They have security. That's necessary. But the fact that they should have all those provisions, it does not speak to a republic. It speaks to a monarchy. By the way, look at presidents of the U.S. Even while in power, they pay for their meals, they pay for everything. So it's symbolized.
Extra meals you want to have. If you want to bring your guests and the rest, you're going to pay for.
Except state banquets, except official state banquets.
How is that possible here in Nigeria?
That's the point. So not just that they have everything free. I mean, the notion is that public office is so much suffering. That's not true. The truth of the matter. And that's why I think that they should be paid reasonable salaries to bench. Like the governor of Anambra said he has not received salary. I said it doesn't make sense. Receive salary.
Yes.
Receive reasonable salary, benchmark to what the chief executive should earn, whether of a bank or. So there's nothing wrong in paying heads of states, as president, as governor, as senator, salaries that benchmark what their counterparts would have earned if they were in alternative similar employment. I wouldn't like, except you want them to steal. Like someone like me who knows that will not steal, I would like to be paid reasonable. But the notion of lifelong pension, whether for heads of state, destroys the notion of republicanism, egalitarianism. If people finish public office, they should as well enter into private office. They should go back to what reasonable and appropriate. And by the way, most of these guys would have trained their families. They probably leave themselves and their wife, and so on and so forth. So they could manage reasonable income. And so I said severance might be a good idea. At the same time, they could also, earn alternative income.
Is the political will to do away with these pensions there? That is the question. For OT, for example, a former banker coming to the state.
A self-confessed billionaire.
Billionaire, and the reform, even endeared former President Olusegun Obasanjo to his heart. They had to visit and enjoy its look. The laws should be repealed.
Absolutely.
Should they be further challenged? Do we need a political will or we need a legal
You need both. You see, OT could do this because of who he is, the kind of governance, progressive governance is bringing. You can see it's also fitted that it's a Labour Party. Now, the good thing about Labour, they have several bad stories about Labour. But this is a good one, that the party of the working class people recognizes the oddity and absurdity of creating a royalty, a kingship, as a matter of fact. So I would argue that it makes a lot of sense for OT to do that. But the question is, can others do that? You need some level of political will. I don't think it's possible without some legal legislation. And what Abia State government has done well is that they have put a law that makes this. Now the question is, can you litigate it? can the federal government challenge the constitutionality of those state laws? Pension is not exclusive federal concern. And so it'd be difficult for you, the President of Nigeria, to go and force a state governor, a state government.
Moral suasion?
Yeah,
particularly in
moral
this period of economic...
frugality.
Yeah.
Now, what the president can do, but by the way, keep your house in order first. So the question every governor will ask the president is, have you sorted yourself? There are some senators, some people who are ministers, former governors, and there's been a case that they should not be receiving any emolument since they are already on pension. And the good thing about pension in federal service is that it can be on 2 pensions. But here, political office holders are in pension in 3 places, in 2 places. So the biggest test is, first, conceptual. Do you recognize that this is odd to democracy and republicanism? 2, can the president himself clean his house, remove all, because it's not enough to say no pension, but how about other very outrageous, financial reward that, they need to, to get away with in order to create that sense of frugality, transparency, and so on and so forth. So I think, in my view, that the political will is not there. Yeah. The political will is not there, but we can create it to a citizen-based activism, which is what SERAP and the media and these discussions are about. That this is not good optics, this is not good governance, this is actually immoral and contradict the notion of political office as service. Because if you're going to guarantee people a lifelong pension that's very generous, why don't people struggle to be in government because they can now earn the right to live off the public treasury all their life?
All their life.
That's not good.
Thanks so very much, Dr. Sam Amadi, Associate Professor of Law and Arise Analyst, for coming to add your voice to this ongoing development. And like you said, it's going to continue to be in the public sphere.